タイムだ。
Hello everyone, Skippy here. With the One Piece anime currently on a 2-week break, this is a great opportunity to go back and shed light on some of the anime's biggest moments, episodes, and arcs. And what better way to start out than with arguably the most well-animated episode in recent memory, episode 870. Directed by Kohei Kareta and supervised by Masahiro Shimanuki, episode 870 was generating hype for the One Piece community months in advance. Although specific staff details weren't revealed until the air date, showrunners had gone on record saying that they were working hard on the climax of Luffy's battle with Katakuri, and they definitely delivered. With a rock-solid adaptation and gorgeous animation, 870 turned a lot of heads both in the fandom and the collective animation community. So today, let's take a deep dive and expand upon the various aspects that show why 870 packs such an enormous punch. Episode 870 covers the entirety of Chapter 895, which details the climax of Luffy vs. Katakuri. Even though it covers only one chapter of material, pacing is never really an issue due to the amount of added filler that helps flesh out the battle. Luffy's actual transformation into the Snake Man form is one of the most prominent examples, but the fight also added quite a bit of banter between both fighters, which added some much needed characterization. In this case, the dialogue made it feel like Katakuri was actually enjoying himself during it, which fits in line with his newfound respect for Luffy before and after this climactic clash. And as to be expected with an episode that revolves around action, several scenes are extended like the initial Diced Mochi and Black Mamba to do some even cooler things with the powers on display like Katakuri's ability to morph into Mochi. One of the most important examples was the depiction of the final clash that happened off screen in the manga. Ultimately, you can really see how the staff went the extra mile to hit the chapter's most important beats and add more content in to help the episode as a whole feel more cohesive. However, that doesn't mean that every bit of filler is exactly necessary though. And while I do understand that the added Rayleigh scenes with him training with Luffy in the past and at Shaki's bar in the present are essentially there to signify Luffy's growth, the slapdash feeling that the latter gives off kills some of the episode's initial momentum. I did like that the Sanji and Pudding scene shows the actual trip to Kauko Island and emphasizes Pudding's growing feelings for Sanji as his departure drew closer, but I feel like it would have been more at home in a different episode that didn't pertain to such a big moment for Luffy. Those are merely small blemishes on what is otherwise a really well adapted episode, which expanded the fight in both meaningful and memorable ways. Kohei Kareta was one of the strongest regular directors in the whole Cake Island arc. He consistently created vibrant storyboards. A good example can be seen with the comic book-esque Germa battle in episode 841, and the action in his episodes tends to be coherent and impactful, especially in the context of a larger battlefield. That's on full display in 870, which uses the mirror world's large scale to its advantage. The creativity needed to depict otherworldly powers with both speed and intelligibility accounted for is remarkable, and both characters' attacks bounce off of and wrap around every inch of the arena. That's especially noticeable in scenes like the Diced Mochi and Black Mamba, which keep you on the edge of your seat even if you're a manga reader and know the outcome of the fight. The board fluctuates between close-ups and wide shots with calculated precision, consistently showcasing the cause and effect nature of each enormous attack and the impact on each fighter. And yet throughout it all, Katakuri is always framed with low-angle shots properly depicting him as this mountain that Luffy needs to climb. Top that all off with some small but creative visual cues like the eye flashes that depict Katakuri's future sight, the reticle that appears in the Python and Birding Mochi clash, and some effective uses of color once we see Katakuri first understand and dodge Luffy's Python, and you get an absolute treat of a storyboard storyboard that does the fight's intensity justice. The opening moments of this episode are a mixed bag to say the least. After a pretty jarring washout transition, we flash back to a scene full of reused and redrawn animation from episode 726, Gear Force initial debut, and episode 800 with the Khan Orgon. Most of the work here that isn't ripped straight from those episodes is actually Masahiro Shimanuki's own animation and correction. After Shimanuki's relatively stiff movement, thick lines, and cartoony style, we jump right back to the present. And the animation showcase properly begins with Naotoshi Shida's Snake Man transformation. This scene probably isn't Shida's best or most well-animated work ever, but there's something about his smooth and liquid-like animation style that works so very well for transformations in general, with several different snake-like smoke strands forming together to lift Luffy up and transform him into his brand new Snake Man form. The movement of the smoke also mirrors the nature of the transformation itself, specifically around the arms reveal, where the smoke misdirects the eye until a hockey-coated fist appears. The board here establishes the intensity via shot, reverse, shot. We see this transformation through Katakuri's eyes and literally see the snake-like beast made out of smoke glaring directly at us. With the new transformation on full display, our resident One Piece anime golden boy Chu Young-seo takes over with one of his most impressive appearances on the series to date. Chu contributes a majority of the cuts in this episode, and it all kicks off with Snake Man and Katakuri's first encounter. Here, Chu's snappy yet smooth timing creates an important dichotomy showcasing the weight and inertia of Luffy's attacks and the resultant speed of the outstretched arms. Add in modern-looking impact frames, flowing smoke effects, and a love for smears, and it's the perfect debut for Snake Man's powers, combining a sense of misdirection and hard-hitting combat as Katakuri tries to figure out what the hell is exactly going on. As Katakuri is sent careening through a pillar, a smooth rotation gives us another shot reverse shot opportunity, seamlessly transitioning into the next cut. What follows is one of the most well-animated scenes in the entire One Piece anime, delivered to us by one of the animation industry's absolute best in Kodai Watanabe. Kodai Watanabe burst onto the One Piece anime scene as the 3D2Y Specials character designer, with his highly expressive designs that were almost Koizumi-esque, and he previously also delivered one of the series' best cuts in episode 696. Here, in his second ever appearance on the anime series, Watanabe is back in full force, animating the build-up to the first diced mochi. It is actually worth noting though that the vast majority of this cut is actually filler, with Watanabe's trademark blobby smoke and expressive character art being instantly recognizable as soon as Luffy charges directly towards Katakuri. The animation is packed to the brim with smears, squashing and stretching the characters in exaggerated ways that brings to life Luffy's crazy attacks. Watanabe takes an already impressive storyboard and ramps it up to 11, generating a sense of speed by smooth transitions from background to foreground. After Luffy bursts through the smoke, Luffy stays in the background for 40 frames, but then zooms into the foreground in just 18. The following attack, Katakuri's recognition and dodge, all take place over the next 70 frames, which is a little under 3 seconds. To maintain continuity and keep the speed of the action intelligible, all of that happens in the center of the frame, so the viewer's eyes don't have to move. We then cut to a wide shot to show the distance the Python traveled and show the impact on the surrounding area before cutting back to a close-up of Luffy. Once again, Watanabe uses zooms, this time being a zoom out from foreground to midground to show the speed of Luffy stretching. Only now, instead of focusing on Katakuri's dodging, the camera tracks along with Luffy's arm, establishing a new precedent for our eyes to follow. From here on out, the cut continues those themes. zooms from close-ups to wide shots, and using the arms as action lines, while also maintaining proper staging. Katakuri almost always moves from right to left, while Luffy is usually facing left to right. The other key component is the colors on display. Luffy's arm highlights, Katakuri's pale mochi form, and the billowing smoke all stand apart from the reds, blacks, and purples of the background, again helping to make things more intelligible. All of that is accompanied with fantastic background animation and some absurdly cool motion as the Katakuri tire continues to avoid Luffy's attacks and tear up the floor. This cut is easily the highlight of the episode, and it's up there with the best scenes that the anime has ever offered. After that awe-inspiring whirlwind, another shot-reverse shot perfectly transitions to a cut from famed web generation animator Masami Mori. Mori has a history of working with Watanabe in previous series, and their styles mesh together seamlessly as Katakuri smacks down on the scene with his fully formed diced mochi. The area bursts into cubes, a style popularized by My Hero Academia's star animator Yutaka Nakamura, and simplified blobby smoke. With extremely loose line work and smears in tow, Katakuri swings Luffy around the arena with so much weight and finesse that sends him crashing into other parts of the mirror world. The camera zooms out from a close-up to a wide shot and subtly pans right to left along with Luffy to help reinforce the timing's weight and the size of the arena. Katakuri's attack culminates with a swing upwards to the very top of the area, hovering for a moment, and building tension before smacking Luffy into the ground with such insane and visceral force. We then get a pair of repeated cuts from different angles to reinforce the impact, and once again, the ground erupts into those ever so lovely cubes in simple smoke. The cut comes to a satisfying end as we get one more glimpse of Sauti's menacing Katakuri before we finally reach the halfway point of the episode. After the eye catches and a quick cutaway to Sanji and Pudding's progress, another one of Watanabe's frequent collaborators takes center stage in Takumi Yamamoto. Yamamoto, one of Toei's shining young talents, gives us a short character acting scene followed by a small Gatling rush. This scene is nowhere near as extensive as the last two, but the fantastic posing and ferocious artwork coupled together with his almost crystallized smoke makes it some really nice eye candy. After his bite-sized scene, we're treated to freelance animator Sadatoshi Matsuzaka, following up the Gatlings with some tracking shots of the stretching arms and fists making contact. This scene was heavily corrected by Shimanuki himself since Matsuzaka only supplied a rough layout, but the scene still moves quite well despite housing many of Shimanuki's recognizable traits. Shimanuki's corrections are all still relatively rugged, with large teeth and scratchy line work that can put off some fans of the series, but outside of Chu, he never touches any of the powerhouse animators on display here, which allows their own art to be seen unfiltered. Because of that, I don't have many issues with his corrections here. Returning to the fight itself, Chu Young-seo returns once again, using the same tips and tricks as his first cut to make the intense Python versus Burning Mochi scene hit like a sledgehammer. Alongside the super dynamic posing, the timing and layouts build a sense of tension as Luffy's fist zooms back around to prepare for the incoming exchange of blows. The impact is short but heavy as both fighters careen backwards to gain their bearings a second time. Next up, Yoshikazu Tomita delivers his third cut in the last 7 episodes. He animates Luffy's Black Mamba, which is chock full of his unique angular art, dramatic shading, and famous mech-like movement. Here, Tomita uses scratchy lines to showcase speed as Luffy wails on Katakuri. That snappy mechanical timing is on full display as Katakuri slowly traverses his way through the maze of fists, again right to left, eventually kicking Luffy away through tons and tons of rubble. As both combatants prepare their finishing move with a filler scene spliced in between, the scene switches from Tomita back to One Piece's very own Climax animator Katsumi Ishizuka and once again Chu Young-seo for the episode's climactic moment. with Ishizuka animating Katakuri flipping through the air and approaching Luffy. Shu takes over for just a bit with his Sheeta-inspired launch of Luffy's King Cobra, as two more snake-like smoke strands twirl to form one golden cobra with buttery smooth movement. As the scene cuts back to Ishizuka, we get his gorgeous visceral art and effects work that resemble that of a crackling fire. And in a beautiful moment of symbolism, Katakuri's close-up stays stagnant, inching ever closer from a position of power, while Luffy's close-up transitions to a low angle, almost literally dragging himself up to meet Katakuri as an equal. Finally, both fighters' attacks make impact on each other and destroy the arena with a different type of modern impact frame, as Chu Young-seo takes the reins once more to round the episode off, with the whirlpool of smoke and lightning laying waste to the mirror world, ending this absolutely star-studded episode off with a real bang that will stick in many people's minds for years to come. With such a star-studded lineup of animators, episode 870 was truly a monumental episode for the One Piece anime, and its impact reaches into the present-day anime over a year later. Kohei Kureta went on to become co-series director in the anime's adaptation of the Wano arc. Chu and Ishizuka's animation style saw direct inspiration from the work present here, and the episode itself paved the way for how future action-oriented episodes would be organized, with episodes 914 and 915 taking a very similar approach to the Luffy vs Kaido fight. It is by no means a perfect product, with some aspects a little rough around the edges, but this episode absolutely did justice to the climax of one of the greatest battles in the series' entire run. Anyways guys, that's it for now. I'm Skippy, and I can't wait to see how 870 continues to inspire other big episodes that are yet to come.